Good evening. You're watching the UpSet podcast. Tonight, we're talking about pastoral ministry, then and now. Coming up next. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the UpSet podcast. We're so happy that you tuned in this evening. And when I say we're, you guys probably don't even know who I'm talking about now because we don't know who it could be. But let's see who's joining us this evening. This is
Hey,
hey guys.
Good evening.
Well.
Welcome back.
I feel so young.
Go ahead, tally ho.
Good. Everybody doing okay?
It's all good.
We all sprang forward.
Oh yeah.
You have lost the hour, but it's all good.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, we all gained. We didn't lose nothing.
Did you see the snow out by you?
We did.
Yeah, it snowed here.
We got some flurries. It was like a squall here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like rushing in and whatnot.
So speaking of weather, they're saying that this year was one of the warmest winters ever in America.
Yeah.
So shout out to global warming and
Shout out to global warming.
shout out to the end times. Shout out.
Keep going, GP. I feel a sermon coming on.
Shout out. All right. Hey, Mike Williams, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mike.
We can always count on you to be here live. We appreciate that. So isn't there something coming on tonight?
Yes. The Myers are coming on, where they talk about hot dogs, Oscar Myers, something like that.
You know what? The good old Oscars, yes. I don't even follow that stuff anymore. Do you guys like know who's up and things like that? Are you guys? Yeah.
A few things. I mean, everybody.
Black artists. I kind of look for the black. I go that route with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually what we hear about. But yeah, it's like I'm so like disenchanted from that stuff. Like I don't even know who's. But I may watch. What's up, Tiff?
See people get smacked.
I know, right? Oh.
Well, I will readily acknowledge that when it comes to best actors, there is a gentleman from Philadelphia, an African American gentleman from Philadelphia, who's up for the movie where he played the part of, and just like that, my brain just left on me. His name is Coleman Domingo, and he played Bayard Rustin. And I've always been a real fan of Bayard Rustin for his courage and for his faithfulness. So I'm wishing him well.
Okay.
I know this thing is old, man, but I got hooked on that PBS joint with
Thank you, Tiffany. Yep.
With the music, and that's where I saw him in the Martin Luther King piece.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. And Tiffany was, I stand corrected. And Tiffany, thank you for that. That Divine Randolph, who is also a Philadelphia girl, is up for her role in The Holdovers. And so we have two. Philadelphia is just a place of such extraordinary talent and individuals with great intellect and superior spiritual fiber.
Where do you live, Tom?
I would tell you, but self-praise is unbecoming.
The Eagles just lose somebody?
Yes. Jason Kelsey retired.
A lot of fans were really sad about that. I saw quite a bit of.
Oh yeah, he's a Philadelphia legend now. He's an icon, and Philadelphia's all in the news these days. It's just
what you guys
extraordinary
think about the
people.
speech?
I mean, we tried to recruit certain younger pastors to come, but they just didn't see Philadelphia as being a way to get towards heaven, And so they They came right past Philadelphia and went somewhere else. Look, Novella's face has not changed. She did not even. She did not crack a smile. I tell you, she said, "I'm going to treat you like the clown that you are."
What about the speech? What do you think about the speech, y'all?
What, Joe Biden's speech?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He read from the teleprompter. He did what he's supposed to do. You know.
I said.
Come on, he left the teleprompter a couple of times.
He did.
Oh,
he did.
And he
spoke from the heart.
Oh yeah.
And he demonstrated the ability to respond with a level of quickness and alacrity that Marjorie Taylor Greene was left dumbfounded. That young lady, I find her to be, she is annoying to me.
She's like a summer fly in the winter.
Yeah, she's too strange for the circus and too human to be sent to Mars. But she extraordinarily annoying.
Yeah.
Happy Women's History Month.
You would say that right after I just assailed the woman.
Right. Because she's a woman, right? It's just annoying. Right, Tally? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, she's just really annoying. But
and GP, I'll get to that. I'm worried about the president because of his age and so forth. But he was witty. He was very witty.
Mm-hmm.
Fumbled over a couple of easy words, but I just like the way he was able to make his comebacks. You know, I mean, his comebacks was really quick and to it.
Yeah.
Well, he had a stuttering problem growing up, and so he was a stutterer, profound stutterer, younger, and so that's always been with him. He's always been that way. Tiffany Brissett made mention of something that really requires notice, and that is the Republican response by Senator Katie Britt was the weirdest thing I've ever seen on television.
It sure was.
Did it in the kitchen.
Yep.
Yeah, the one in the kitchen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check out SNL. Not check out.
You watch
that live.
That's all you got to say.
Keep going, Pat. Check out what you saying.
Saturday Night Live opening. Remarkable, man. I mean, they just make you look like fools. I don't think she heard the speech. How could she hear the speech, turn around, and nothing was regarding the speech? I don't get it.
The speech is actually passed out before he delivers it.
Right.
It's actually passed out.
And she said, "By no means am I going to change it at all. I'm presenting what I prepared, no matter what."
Yeah.
Wow.
Happened. She stuck to her script.
I wonder how she feels about that now.
Well, I can tell you how other Republicans feel about it. She was a rising star. She was considered to be, the Republican on the ascent. She no longer is.
She's 42.
42 years old.
Yep, coming through.
Yeah. So, but it's going to be unique. This is going to be a unique election coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. I can't believe we're here already, but we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That we are.
And we'll be talking more about it in future episodes of the podcast. But tonight, we have a topic that I'm sure has been at several potlucks and just general
Coming heavy, boy. These comments are gonna roll.
Water cooler. And so, Pat, go ahead and tell us what we're discussing tonight.
Okay.
Open up the dialogue.
Oh, is that your drum roll?
No, actually,
is our budget that low that's what we use as a drum roll now?
It was funny. Tally looked up and was like, "What's going on? What's all that?"
Yeah,
I thought you were having a fit.
Listen. When I went to Oakwood, 1988, my plan was to become a computer science, going to computer science. And when I do pretty good in math, and when I got to calculus and upper trigs or whatever, I just said, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I decided full-heartedly that I was going to go into Tally, Don't start.
It's a novel approach to ministry. I mean, a lot of other folks just, they it's the Holy Ghost that does it.
Well, I went for pastoral ministry. I didn't do it when I got there. And one of the reasons why also is because even with the turn of 88, I was still in the group of the people of the theology majors that walked around with Bibles, that look for a wife that can play the piano and sing and all that good old fashioned lemonade. So I didn't want to get into all that, and I didn't want to follow them. So I went that way. And when I decided to become a minister, what intrigued me much about the classes is most of those classes were hands-on classes. Baptism, how to actually do baptism. You had those old guys who could baptize 3 people at the same time, right? So when you had like 100 people, you didn't have 2 people in there. They knew how to do it, and how to have budgets, how to do visitations. Those are the type of things that were actually in our classroom experience besides the theology side of it. You jump out of there and you go to your master's level, and you see more of psychology, but you don't see anything else about hands-on or what to do when you actually get there. But you saw how you did your internships, and you had to do your internships with seasoned pastors.
Yeah.
And when I say seasoned, we're not talking about even associateship. We're talking about seasoned pastors, which around the Lake Region area and the Michigan area, you got guys who had probably been presidents and so forth and been in their churches, and you were able to work along with them. You'll never forget those who you've interned with. And then it's time to come out. You think you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. You have seriously, you coming out of there with a cape on, with the S on the back and on your chest. Even when coming out, you start to. It almost feels like an NBA draft. Right, you know how the NBA draft goes, and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, the next person coming up will be going here, and the next person coming up will be going there. I remember getting a call, and I could say his name, from Billy Wright. He was in the Texas area, and he called me about 10:30 in the night, and he said, Pastor, is this Patrick Graham? I got a call from Dr. Nixon that I should give you a call. I said, oh, this is it. I got a call now. He said, I want you out of your class to name the 3 people in your class that I should pick up. I said, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. To me, they're great, great guys. He said, thank you. I said, well, what about me? I didn't get picked up until about a year later. A year later, I got picked up into Allegheny East and went into DuPont Park and started. I just want to give us started as a Bible worker, or back then we had discipleship. And so I had about 3 churches before we began, and about 2 months in, the executive committee said, no, let's go ahead and make him a pastor. But I thought for sure I was better than all these guys. I'm coming in here and I'm going to pack this church out, and all of my sermons are Gardner C. Taylor type sermons, and I'm just gonna roll with this thing. 35-minute sermons, 5-minute appeals. I had all the tools ready.
Tasha just didn't receive that one well. Tasha said her watch must have been broken the day that she heard.
No, back then, not now.
Back then. Oh.
No, not now. I mean, 35 minutes. These guys didn't preach long. 35 minutes. And when I came, that's 23 years ago. 23 years ago, 10 years later, I went to the youth ministry department, and I spent 10 and a half years in department, came back out. And I literally, when I came back out, pastors, GP was giving me books. GP had given me a book. Everybody was like, hey, welcome back to Boots on the Ground. Welcome back to Boots on the Ground. And I was like, wow, here we go. Pastoral ministry. Let me just say it like this, and we'll just open it up. Pastoral ministry is not the same as it was 10 years ago, and definitely not the same as it was 20-something years ago, as far as I'm concerned. So I just want to open it up to all of us that are here now. I know it has changed for me. How has it changed for you, especially after the pandemic?
Let me just say something, Pat. You said something about just coming out when you first came out, and I think there's something to that. I think pastors, they need that energy to come out the stalls.
Right.
Because if they didn't have that to launch, Lord have mercy. So when I see young pastors, with the stars in their eyes, like, yes,
Yeah.
you need that. Hope that those stars stay as long as possible.
It's true. It's true. And thanks for that, Keenan, because the stars in your eyes have never gone away from me. Never. And I have to be honest with you at that. What happened to me, and maybe we could all talk about this, things have literally changed. It's the tools that I could remember using to even walk into a Bible study. Let's talk about even a Bible study. It's not the same anymore. I mean, there are. I'll give you one good example, and then we could throw with that. I thought about what it would be like to get back into the field and have board meeting. So this is going to be good, man. Board meeting is going to be. When I got into the field, I recognized they don't do board meeting face to face anymore.
Oh, the virtual thing?
It's virtual.
Yeah.
But what it has done for me, I like to see body language. I like to look around the room, right?
Yeah.
In my board meeting now, my face is the only one showing, and everybody has their camera off. So that's a big change for me because I like to quote unquote work the room.
Yeah.
And that I find is a big change, one of the big changes for me. Go ahead, I'll throw it out.
No, I wanted to ask a question of you all because you guys talked about like the stars in your eyes and coming out of the gate strong. and to me, that comes from a certain passion or calling that you feel to the ministry. One of the changes that I've heard people discuss is that love for ministry and feeling called to the ministry as being the impetus for getting into pastoral ministry has changed a little bit. Some people are entering pastoral ministry as simply another career. You know what I mean? It's a job. You can go to school, you can get a degree, you can get picked up, you stay 5 years, and it becomes like any other job that anyone may take on. Do you guys have you all seen that? Because when you have a passion for something and you have others in your field who don't have that same level of passion. And that's no judgment. It's just like, for instance, when I graduated from Oakwood with my English degree, I wanted to work for a magazine. That was my goal. But the opportunity wasn't there for me at the time. So the opportunity to teach English literature became available. And I said, hell, let me challenge myself. And I did. I did it for 2 years. I taught at Pine Forge Academy. And even though I enjoyed it, I knew it wasn't my passion. And I knew passionate teachers. You know what I mean? And so I felt like I don't belong here. I don't have that passion that, my colleagues had. And so I felt like, this is not where I belong. I can do the job, but this is not where I belong.
I think
does the same thing apply with pastoral ministry?
I get what you're saying. And I think that sometimes I think what it is the desire to pastor is there when you're a pastor, right? The desire to pastor is there, but sometimes it's what area, right? And I don't mean area like geographic. I don't mean that. What I mean is some people might have more of a push for their community engagement. Some might have a push more for their music or their technology media side, the youth, therapy, that kind of stuff, right? So every person has a certain area that they really enjoy, and they may push that area full throttle, even when they're, say, a senior. But when you're a senior, you can't just concentrate on this one area. Mm-hmm. When you have the administrative part, the financial part, the psychological part of people, the community, then there's the business side, the community side, where you're sitting on boards in your community, because you should not just pastor your church members, please. You have to pastor your community. You have to sit on community boards. The mayor should know your name, the alderwoman, the alderman, somebody else should know Pastor so-and-so. And so you have to spread yourself appropriately to all of these areas. But then you drill down to the question, the parts I really enjoy are A, B, and C. And then you start to feel the drain, perhaps, when you have to give attention to the parts that your personality doesn't naturally gravitate to.
Yeah, well said. I mean, pastors are expected to be jack of all trades, masters of everything, just like they've mastered divinity, like as if you can do that. But like Novella just said, sometimes there are people who are pastoring, who have a passion for a specific thing. And quite frankly, there are not many conferences that give the latitude or room to find out what is in this pastor's heart. Where can we best assign them to be effective?
Okay.
And we just put you in a church when they might be called to lead children to Christ, you know, and that's their thing. But because we don't have that slot available, we don't have the vision to make room for where people feel led to serve, you get burned out eventually because you have to do everything else. It's raining.
Your sound just disappeared on us, GP, a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what happens when the Lord says that what you this prophet has not spoken.
Uh-oh.
Try it again. What was that last thing you said?
No, I was just talking about, I mean, do we make room for the passions in the hearts of those who are called to serve in ministry?
You know, this leads me to a thought where, you know how you have senior leadership and then you have associate leadership. And unfortunately, sometimes people look at associate leadership as junior pastor.
Exactly.
It's not true. Your associate really is a specialty, right? And so a youth pastor shouldn't be the person who's fresh out of school. Therefore, you stick them with the youth. You don't stick people with youth.
Right.
You have to be a specialist in youth. Children, not everybody can pastor the little people. You have to specialize in little people and their families, because at no point do you just pastor kiddos. You have to pastor their families. Likewise, when churches are so blessed to have specialized pastors, associates who are executives, that means they are focused on the financial part, or community engagement, or the pastor for family therapy or community. Listen, I think it's underappreciated. The specialty pastor, it is underappreciated, and it's looked as junior when it's not. It's specialty.
Yep.
But I think pastors would flourish better if they may be allowed to stay in their specialty and not be looked upon as junior, but flourish in their specialty.
I think you guys are highlighting one of the major changes, because Tally, when you were coming to ministry, it was expected that you were all things to all people, right? I mean, was that you?
I remember talking to Matthew, Mark, and Luke when we all went into the ministry together. You know, I'm listening. If you notice, I've been listening with a great deal of rapt attention, because I came to the Allegheny East as a pastor in 1980.
Jeez.
Thank you, GP. I deeply appreciate that. You know, 1980. This was after seminary and after Oakwood, and most people thought I was older than I was, because I was always coordinating the youth tent from 1975 onward. And so they all thought that I was with Al Johnson and Bill Hall and James Lewis and Steve. They thought I was several years older, but I started in 1980. When I came out, your specialty was pastor this church, you know. That was it, you know. And you were lucky if you got a chance to study under someone and to be covered by a senior man. And sometimes you were not lucky, because the senior man that you got may not have had the skill set to teach you how to affect. I knew guys who came up under ministers and they kind of mimicked some of these ministers' bad habits, you know. And so,
Tyler, can I? Oh, go ahead.
Candace Noel Cromwell, her mom and dad, we had such fun together, you know. I love you back, Candace.
Tally, I think, and I think I came under the last part of the crew when I was with my first senior pastor. I was picking up laundry, washing
shoes.
cars,
No, see, I ain't do that stuff.
Nah,
picking them
happen.
picking them up from the airport. I'm serious. And hold on. And just like you said, Novella, I was 31 years old with 3 kids. I didn't come out at 19 and 20. You see what I'm saying? But like Keenan said, when you come on out, you want to do everything. You want to be like, okay, I'll do this for you, do that for you. And yeah,
I didn't say that. Hold on. I didn't say that.
Well, we were doing it. No, we were doing it. I'm going to be honest with you. We were doing it. And the guys around was doing it. It just took a time. We said, no, I'm not doing that. I have to say, I thank God that Fordham became my senior pastor, and I spent a good amount of time with him, and I learned all his good habits.
Yeah. Henry Fordham had the uncanny. First of all, he was a pastor's pastor. He really knew how to pastor people, and I mean, Henry Fordham would be at the hospital before the doctor gave you the diagnosis that you needed to go to the hospital. He'd be standing there waiting for you with a cruise of oil, ready to talk to you in that Texas accent that somehow he got having grown up in Philly. And I don't know how long you're going to be here, but I'm here to work with you. I mean, I still don't know how I still miss that man with all my heart. But yeah, I mean, I learned from here's something that we had that doesn't exist anymore. And that is the context of ministry that included camp pitch, where all the ministers came up. And it wasn't about the working. I mean, because they worked us like, rented government mules. But it was after the work ended, and we would all be sitting around, and a Bobby Willis and a George Braxton would be sitting around talking with the Talaferro right there. Look, when I started, I mean, my first time sitting with a bunch of ministers, I was 18. And they thought that I was, a minister because I was with the rest of them, 18 years old. And you get to hear their stories and how they
the
deal
dirty
with
jokes
things.
or the stories. Which one?
There were times I heard some things as a young man where I said, I didn't know ministers could talk like that. But I mean, I heard some things and saw some things, and some things you say, I'm not going to do that, and other things you say, that's interesting. I'm going to try to learn how to do that. But I mean, but it is so different now, being a pastor now. For example, when I came in, members expected you to show up and visit them at any time.
Yeah.
You go to somebody's house now without letting them know you coming. You'll be standing on that doorstep all by yourself, waiting for a Rottweiler to chase you back to your car. Yeah. I mean, you just don't do that anymore.
And they'll be upset about you coming there.
Did you hear something? What's wrong? Rodney Grissom said, "What happens at camp pitch stays at camp pitch." Camp pitch was the romance of ministry, and there was a pecking order. And and I was often picked on when I was not in a hazing sort. Well, yeah, it wasn't a hazing sort of way, but I remember telling a conference president one time, and I wasn't ordained. I went into his office uninvited, put my license on his desk, and said, "You do that one more time, and we're gonna go round and round outside." Those words, And I knew I was going to get fired, but I said, "Let me tell you something. Don't you ever talk to me like that again in public." And he never did. And it took me a year and a half extra to get ordained too. But
I'm gonna get Tally. Anyway, we'll talk offline. No, it took me a while too, because I wouldn't deal with that. But here's the thing: think about those young pastors who are coming in now, who don't expect to be spoken to that way, and don't expect and need their information right away, and don't expect to be a mule, and not expect. And what about those who come in and say, "Wait a minute, ministry? I thought," because I'm going to tell you, Tally, we heard about you while we were in school.
Wow.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not saying that you owe like Moses. What I'm saying is those teachers at that time was telling us how to pastor and how to preach the way you were doing it. They called your name. So I think that one of the things about coming out and being a pastor is that you kind of try to mimic those who you saw. for me, it's the wards, right? EC Ward for who, for me, it was Fordham. So when you come out, you expect them to do that. Like, for example, Fordham will be at the graveyard before the body got there.
Without question.
No, I'm not even joking.
Without
I'm
question.
serious.
I mean,
He'll be there
that's,
before the body
look,
got there.
he's legendary.
And so I do the same thing. But in this day and age, if you find yourself getting there, and I'm using this as an example, maybe like, hold on, we didn't ask you to do that, Pastor, or we didn't ask you to be here with that. Even if you show up for Sabbath school early, they're kind of looking at you. Well, what is he doing here this early? Or things just have changed. I mean, literally have changed to the point where, look at Wednesday night prayer meetings. I thought pastors did Wednesday night prayer meetings. When I came out, the elders are doing it. And I'm talking about, I've just been out for 6 months now, right? And so when I'm thinking, okay, this Wednesday night prayer meeting is going to take me into Sabbath, and this Sabbath is going to take, and the Wednesday is going to take me into Sabbath. To me, things are like, it doesn't go that way anymore, Pastor. We just want you to preach on Sabbath and leave us alone. Let us do our thing.
Is that a bad thing, though?
No, I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying it has changed, because it's not a bad thing, because I could remember being in the conference office. I'm just using GP as an example. If GP said to me, man, I'm chilling Wednesday night, I'm good, my elder got me covered, and I would be like, what? That's a part of your duties. In my mind, I wouldn't say it out to anybody. But now that I'm in the field again, there's a drastic change within the past, I'm going to say 5 years, even in 5 years.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a good change, wherein the elders, because the elders should be teaching and preaching and studying and visiting, like they should be doing all of those things.
Sure.
So as pastors, if we set the agenda and if we set the scope, and so say for example, your theme is I don't know, discipleship, right? Then on Wednesday night, that's what should be taught. The children should be getting that lesson. Every ministry should be getting that lesson. So by the time the pastor gets there on Saturday, it is a continuation of that theme and that lesson, even when the pastor is not leading it on Wednesday. And it's a change, but that's a great change. Holistic, so that when the pastor is transferred, right? When the pastor is transferred, say the conference doesn't put a pastor there for 6 months, they already have a framework to just keep rolling with if they choose. Right. You don't have to start scrambling around for it.
So I love the wisdom that Dr. Orville Brissett dropped. He said that pastoring today requires a commitment to reinvent oneself when necessary.
That's right.
Constant shifts keeps us on our toes. It is finding yourself, discovering your voice, and as a preacher and shepherd.
And that has to be contextualized. And Brissett is absolutely right. But the context of Adventist ministry rarely allows for that, because we're not long enough where you have to reinvent yourself.
Can we back up just a little bit, guys? Let's back up just a little bit. And this is with that. I know we're the UpSet podcast. But here's the thing. I think that there's not enough accountability on who we are and what our gifts are to put us in the place that we belong. And then what ends up happening is that you may go to a church or a congregation that you don't fit there, and because your gifts don't fit with that congregation. And then what ends up happening is that you're looked upon as one who people don't like, or the church don't like them, or the first elder is complaining to the conference. And the truth is that you just simply never fit there in the first place. And I think that that's what we need more of. So, because if you're in the right place, you're going to grow in the right place.
You mean the pastor and the church?
Both. Yeah. Both will grow. The pastor and the church will grow. But if I'm in a situation where I'm a youth guy, let's just call it that, and I'm at a church where there's no youth, or they're not pressing towards youth, or something like that. By the way, that's not one of my members is on. That's not my church. But I'm just saying, what if I'm?
I saw your first cousin Mary wrote in. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh.
No, Mary, you're right, Mary. He really is. Pat's
And just to talk about Mary Wright, we had the pandemic, but before the pandemic, what was the thing that was showing up in everybody's letter at the post office? Come on, guys, help me. Before the pandemic.
Something showing up in people's letters at the
I know what
post
you're
office.
talking about, though.
There was a white powder. Right. When we had the anthrax scare.
Yeah.
A couple of our members had gone through that. And I'm looking at now and then. It's hard to show up at someone's house. Today, one of my members' kids have a birthday party. Okay. He's 8 years old. I couldn't go to that birthday party because out of all the children's birthday party, I'd have to go to every birthday party. You understand what I'm saying? And I think in Tally's day, I don't know, Tally, would you have gone to all these birthday parties?
Not everybody. It's just the people I like.
See, and that's the problem. I don't want them to see that as I'm that type of person. I don't know, maybe
I have to ask this, Graham.
Go ahead.
Why is that such a concern to you? The way the others view you. I mean, as long as you staying true to what God's called you to do. What is it?
But maybe.
Wait a minute. I want to laugh a little bit longer on that one.
I mean, I guess for me, I'm a little wired a little differently, so that doesn't even.
Well, make sure I heard you right here. You said, "Why are you worried about how the other people think about you as long as you're doing what's true to yourself?" Right?
I'm not saying if you follow God at the end of the day, because there's a lot of people saying, hey, "Why this pastor leaving? Why this pastor leaving?" If the pastor feels called to do something else,
right?
He feels called to do something else.
Yeah.
You feel called.
Are you talking about the birthday party, or are you talking about doing something else?
Let's stick with me. If you feel called to be in pastoral ministry, and I'm saying this, if your foot get cut off during pastor, if that's what God calls you to do, that's what God calls you to do. And I know I'm kind of going around about, but what I'm saying is that
you suffer for it, you need to suffer for it, basically.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, Pam.
I'm really trying to understand.
I'm saying something. What I'm saying is this: if you know what God's called you to do, no matter what, people always want to say something, no matter what. So you can't please everybody. So you may go to one person's birthday party and not go to 5 others. Why? Because that's what I just want to go to this one.
The thing about that, Pat, it will send us into a place we don't want to go when we have to evaluate everything down to the dime.
Exactly.
If the thing is, what about a wedding? What if someone invites someone to attend a wedding and you attend a wedding? Is the thought process, I better attend every other wedding? No, here it is. If I could attend a birthday party this Sunday because I'm free and I can make the time, I'm going to go. If I cannot attend the wedding next month because I have to go visit my grandma's cat, then guess what? Then I have to go visit my grandma's cat. Circumstantial, as opposed to what happens a lot of the times is, oh, well, the pastor don't like me. I didn't say that, so stop thinking it. And that's what people have to understand is don't put the pastor in that position where you think the pastor is taking a side that the pastor is not taking. I'm just not available to them.
You don't even have to explain that, though.
I'm not. I'm just saying it to us.
It's nothing to explain. But the one thing that I do recognize, no, it's nothing to explain. And I do get that. But you have to know your church. That's one thing. You have to know your church. And my church is a very unique church. And I don't have a problem saying it. And unique doesn't mean that it's a negative side of it. I think a lot of people feel that because I came from youth ministries, that I'm going to end up being the Pathfinder director, the so-and-so director, the this director, and that director. No, I have to be like, I can't do that.
Sure.
And I get what you're saying. And I'm not even thin-skinned about it.
Yeah.
I think you have to know your people and know how they operate. And I have to be in the most comfortable spot to be able to say, I'm not going to stay up all night trying to figure out what sister so-and-so and sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so. No, I'm not going to do that.
That's my only point. My thing is, if you have made a conscious choice because Pastor Graham has assessed his context to say, this is not best for me to do,
sure,
that's fine. Yeah. But if it ever leads to, well, because it's going to take sides and people going to think this, and no. If it was gonna lead you there, I say you cut off the program now and go to the party. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, the mental part of pastoring is the part that I don't think people realize really be a problem. You know, from head to toe, you have to think about your hair color. You have to think about if you have hair, if you don't. You have to think about this clothes, that clothes. If you wear, I mean, one of our colleagues had on a certain nail color, right? And her congregation was like, "Oh, she's pushing."
I thought you were talking about me.
LGBTQ. She's pushing for those rights. And she's surprised. She's like, I had just gone on vacation. And you know, when you go to a tropical place, you might want a bright color. No, in their mind, you're pushing gay rights. And she's just like, I don't even know what to say. Mentally. So whatever is going to keep us in a mental wellness and an emotional stability, I say you do. Whatever sure choice is made, that is fine, as long as it's made from a very, very healthy place.
I just love listening to the brimming optimism of our younger pastors, and it's just you know, but I tell you,
Come on, Tally, we waiting.
I got to tell you, it is, you know, like when Keenan was saying, look, if people are looking at you and they thinking this way, that's their problem. It will soon be yours. You know,
I agree with that.
It'll come around.
I agree with that.
And it is. I mean, I'm you know, thinking of the Apostle Paul, where he made mention of the fact that the weaknesses of the lesser are the things that at times we have to cater to. When, for example, he talked about people who didn't like the fact that some people would eat food offered to idols, and Paul would say, well, there are times we have to cater to the fact that these people are weaker, and the perception that people have of us. I mean, Jesus would often do that. He would say, look, don't tell anybody I healed you, because he recognized that dealing with perception would create certain problems. It is wisdom to recognize that at times you have to manage perception. It just, you know, I've it's 44 years for me. Well, I'm retired now, so I don't do it anymore. But I was the pastor for the city of Philadelphia when I was the city's director of faith-based programming. Got to know almost every pastor in the city and to talk with them. And managing perception is an important part of the job. Whether we like it or not, it's still important.
I can't disagree. It's very important. My only
what I'm
driving home is manage the perception from a healthy lens, not from, oh, if I do this, everyone's going to say, or I better not. It has to be, I'm doing this because this is genuinely a healthy thing to do for all, meaning the perception wise, and for me, holistically.
Novella, I agree.
I'm going to answer Rodney's question in a minute, but go ahead. Go
ahead. No, I do agree. Matter of fact, I agree 100% of what you're saying. I think that pastoral ministry is also a give and take. It's not a 100%. Let me just do it the way I want to do it here.
I'm not saying
no. I didn't say you said that. Okay. No. I know what you're saying. Yes. I mean, come on.
I didn't say that neither, there,
Pat. No, I'm not even. I'm not even. Let me tell you something, Keenan. I'm not even against what you have said.
Right.
I think we're talking on a broad sense. Yeah. All of us, you know. This is going to be hard to say. I believe that, first of all, my dad said this from the time I started ministry: if everyone loves you, you're doing something wrong. All right, something is wrong, because it just doesn't work out that way. There are people who just don't like you because they just don't like you.
Yeah,
I remember going into youth ministries, and there was this lady that I really liked, and when I say I liked the way she did ministry, but she just didn't like me. And when I went to her and I asked her, I said, why don't you like me? And really, I was kind of like, why don't you like me type of thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know. I just don't like you.
Yeah.
And then you just have to learn that there are people who just don't like you because what did the memes say? Because your vibes just upset their spirit in some way or another. So I get what you're saying, Novella. But what I don't like, and what I'm sharing now, because we have talked about this, is that I used to live in an approval addiction type thing. And there are many pastors who have an approval addiction. Yeah. You know, honey, how was the sermon? And she's like, one of those type of things, because you have good and bad days. But I remember in ministry that when things didn't work out or a bad meeting, it destroyed my whole week. It's not a day or two. So I think we have to also talk about expectations, you all. The expectation. Go ahead.
No, I just said yes. I was with you.
No. Latasha was saying.
No, when you mentioned approval addiction, and I know we were going to go back to Rodney's question, that I saw Orville's comment about social media's impact, because that takes that takes that approval addiction to another level. And I think that is one of the major changes, because your ministry is not just seen locally as it used to be, but now your ministry is worldwide. I mean, people will take your sermons, share your sermons, look at what you're posting. What are they doing? Are they serving their members? Are they having prayer meetings? Are they,
But it's worse than that. It is. It has created, and Rodney, I'll come back to that one, but Orville makes a good point. As a person, I've spent 25 years in professional media. And I want to tell you, what's happening now is not very healthy in ministry. And that is ministers are becoming products. They're becoming
brands.
They're becoming brands.
Yep.
And the image, people always, and I used to hear this all the time, where if Jesus were alive today, he'd be on satellite television. I'm not so sure. Because Jesus never was interested in touching people who could not touch him in return. And when you become an image, and your image becomes more persuasive than your essence, you are on the verge of establishing idolatry.
Mercy.
And I'm telling you, it is not the healthiest thing where when you look up, you see a guy smiling in front of a camera. Hi, I'm Nick Talafero, and today we're going to heal you right here on Heal Those Negroes. I mean, it is not the healthiest of things, because ministry is supposed to be heart to heart, hand to hand.
That's right.
When you cry, I should taste tears. And we have lost that in our attempt, in the name of, quote, spreading the gospel. And the gospel's everywhere right now, but it's in the attempt to spread our branding that it's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Can I say something?
Go.
I just want to say, in Tyler Farrell, correct me if I'm wrong, but I was told that there was a time that pastors, they were told, don't just rely solely on being a pastor in case you don't get picked up. Make sure you're able to do something else.
That's before.
They said that's way before?
No, I'm serious. That's before. That's not why you're in.
Okay. Well, therefore, that mind, but that mentality is still kind of lurking around. So I see some people, almost, lack of a better words, positioning themselves, maybe with the branding, as like I've been told just in case. So I'm almost like positioning myself to make sure I got something in case this pastoral thing don't work out.
Well, Key, who did I have? I was talking to Miggs the other day. And I said to Miggs, when you called.
Right.
No. Here's what I mean by that. When I was coming through, we thought called was straight pastoral ministry. Simply pastoral ministry. Anyone who had a ministry outside of the pastoral ministry was frowned upon.
Oh, without question.
There's no doubt about that. You could, unless you were.
If you went into chaplaincy services,
that's right. Even so when we had guys like Green and all these guys who left the ministry to become doctors and lawyers and all this type of stuff, people looked down at them like, how could you leave the call? What I said to Miggs was, if you were born to do this thing, pastoral ministry in this sphere, you're just born to do it. There's nothing else you can do besides doing this ministry. Tally, when you left the ministry, did it burn you?
I beg your pardon, what you say?
I'm asking you a serious question. When you, not that you was going to joke.
I heard you. But I never left the ministry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Never.
When you left the pastoral desk, I want to leave it that way. When you left the desk, did it burn you? When you sat and watched other preachers preach, did you kind of say like, I need to be there or something like whatever?
It is my departure from the Adventist pastoral ministry was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. It broke me. I only by the grace of God did I survive it. I went through a severe depression that I didn't even know I was in.
More.
And because when you are called to preach the gospel of redemption that speaks to the needs of broken and flawed humanity, to be reconciled with a God who loves them with a love that cannot and will not let them go, nothing will replace that.
Nothing.
Now, when I left the Adventist professional ministry, I did not leave ministry. I left Adventist employment.
Yes, good.
And it still broke me. It
Good
still
fix. Good fix.
it broke me because I could not believe that my church did not. And when I say my church, I mean my congregation, that they did not care about me. That hurt me.
Yeah.
It hurt me beyond words.
Yeah.
I could not believe that my commitment was regarded so lightly by people that I worked with, that it didn't matter that I was gone. But I had some good friends who kept up with me, and that helped to save me. In the meantime, there were other ministers in the city of Philadelphia, Reverend Dr. Gus Roman, who is still a mentor of mine.
Outsiders.
He's a pastor at Zion Baptist right now. He's 90 years old. He called me last week and says, Tyler Farrell, I need you. I want you to come on board with me. I mean, there were several pastors in the city of Philadelphia who immediately got in touch with me and asked, what can I do? How can I help? And I learned some very valuable things. And I want to be clear about this. Nobody was out to hurt me. It just some bad things happened, and I had to leave, and God was in my leaving. When I left, I became a radio personality. I remember standing on the stage at Madison Square Garden, 20 feet behind Celine Dion, singing back up to her, singing back up to 5 different Grammy Award-winning artists. I remember I remember being a deputy mayor, and I remember going to the White House to represent the mayor on behalf of the city of Philadelphia. Nothing
Come on.
has ever
I know what you're going to say.
gotten remotely as close to being a minister of the gospel.
That's right. That's right.
Nothing.
That's right.
Nothing.
Tally, the reason why I asked you that, and why I'm going to piggyback off of what Keenan said, was that when we were in Oakwood, they said, have a degree and have a backup.
Yeah.
The backup was not if you were in ministry and decided not to do it anymore. It was if you didn't get picked up, because there was 100 cats coming out, and you didn't even know if you were going to get picked up because there was so many people.
Yeah, look, learn how to make a tent.
Yep.
But here's the thing: if you are called to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, nothing
Come on.
will ever allow you to feel a sense of satisfaction
Nothing.
and fulfillment that equals it. A real preacher of the gospel will pay to preach.
Hold on. Let me stop you there.
Pay to preach.
Let me stop you there.
I've got it.
Miles came to Andrews University. I mean, he lived out there, and he said to me, he was doing my interview. He said, "I'm sorry, but we don't have the money to pay you." I said to him, "I will do it for free. I will do it for free." And honestly, the way I look at it now, I have never looked at my paycheck in the 23 years that I've been working for Allegheny East. Never, not my paycheck. I never looked at my pay stub. Never.
What?
Never.
Good stewardship there.
I don't know. When I say that, I never even know the 30th and the 15th or when they're coming. I don't even know. I feel like a basketball player having fun playing. That's how I feel. So I don't even look at it that way. But here's the point I wanted to make with you, Keenan, is that when God calls you to something, if it's pastoral ministry, you will never leave. It's or you'll never get, and the burn is all. Tally, I get what you're saying, Tally. Here's what I'm saying. While I was in youth ministries for 10 years, I hated y'all. And you know what I mean by that. I was like, I felt like a breath being taken away every time I showed up at a church and see you guys do your thing. Pastoral ministry is a heart thing.
It is
a heart thing. It's a heart thing. So Keenan, why I said that was, don't get me wrong, Me, I have another degree, right? Keenan, we both have the same.
Hey, whoa, we talking about you, man. We talking about you. No, I'm just playing.
And I get it. There's nothing to be ashamed
No,
about.
yeah. I got another degree. You're right.
No, I got Novella got a grief a thing going on. GP sings or whatever the case may be. The point I'm making about that, and GP, I'm not even putting down about that. What I'm saying
GP has
is
all sorts of talent.
I found that my counseling degree, when I got my counseling degree, and I look back at being a minister, I did not pastor. I didn't pastor. Matter of fact, I realized that I hurt more people from the pulpit than helped them. Once I became when I went to do my counseling, I hurt more people in the pulpit.
Share.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Share about that.
Yeah, unpack it.
Okay.
About how you hurt more people.
Have you heard him? It's painful.
Ignorant.
I'm only kidding.
I'll give you one example. The way I preached. When I get down to the altar call, I am handing them heavenly trauma on people who have walked into the church to get rid of that trauma or to be managed with that trauma. So when I get up and I say to them, if you don't get with God right now, when you walk out of this building and a bus knocks you down, you're going straight to hell because you have not made that decision. And this person came in because all week they've been struggling with suicide. No, come on, man.
Well, we do a lot of terror preaching, and
fear-based.
Yeah, a lot of fear-based stuff.
That's it, Keenan.
I mean, our evangelism is all about, you got monsters flying out from the book of Revelation. He going to eat your young, I mean, and we have to, I remember one of my members telling me, all you do is get up there and talk about love and grace. When you going to start preaching the gospel? I just looked at her.
Wow.
Yes.
But, but yeah, it is. Thank you, Raquel. I appreciate that. It is. Ministry is diversified.
Yep.
And look, sometimes you have to make tents to make a living. I get that, but
that's a conflict of interest if you're making tents while you're pastoring.
Some of your members, yes. See, here we are. Some of your members, yes. My members were not my members. Remember, it depends where you are. You have to know your ground. My members, where I am right now, I have to tell them, or I want to tell them what I'm doing in the days, because some of them think you wake up at 11 and go to sleep at 8.
Yeah. It's they don't. I mean, people do not understand. I remember one of my members said to me, "Pastor, you just get up there and open that Bible, and the Spirit falls on you, and you just go." And they don't realize how much work it takes to prepare to preach for a half hour, 40 minutes. But the preaching of the gospel is beyond sublime. The privilege of standing between the living and the dead, and to speak the oracles of the living but unseen God to people, and to address them at the point of the concerns and the call and the conviction of God at the point of their own fears and misgivings, is the most dynamic human experience that there is, and nothing will equal it if you are called to the gospel ministry. Even now, it took me a little bit more than a year to get past my not being the pastor of West Philadelphia.
Wow.
I mean, man, I still, today, I had somewhere else to go, and somebody else was with me, and I said, "Do you mind if I go off course? I just wanted to drive by my old church." All I did was drove by it, got a fix, and then I was all right. Because I loved my people and they loved me back. It was the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
Wilma. Oh my goodness.
I see this. This is
Wilma.
Let's talk about it. This is the UpSet.
Someone who could read.
Because this is how members feel. So we're going to talk about it. I want you guys to address. I'll read it since I'm the non-pastor.
And it may be her personal experience from the past, but
So SDA pastors have changed throughout the years. They don't check on their members. Everyone has a second job that is more important than the ministry. When a pastor can go on the pulpit every Sabbath and talk about his second job, it makes you wonder where his heart is. Gone were the days when you stopped by the church during the week and the pastor would be there for a couple of hours and a member could stop to get a prayer and counsel on issues they are facing. Where I came from, the past.
Well, let me just say this to my friend who is saying that, it is, there's a book that I have called The Good Old Days, They Were Horrible. I mean, because, in retrospect, nostalgia allows us to look back at the past through uh, beautiful rose-colored glasses. Uh, Even the older pastors weren't always there. That's first. Secondly, um, a lot of pastors have second jobs because Adventist pastors are not always paid commensurate to the task that they do and the cost of the living that they have. Uh, Now, when you first start as an Adventist pastor, you're doing okay. When you're a young pastor coming out of the seminary,
Yeah.
you are at parity with your other young people coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out now. I mean, when you come out of seminary and you're making $65,000 a year, you're at parity with a lot of other people just coming out of school. But 10 years, 20 years down the road, one of the reasons I left this last time around,
Yeah.
when I discovered that a guy who had been in the ministry for 4 years was earning more than I was earning,
Yeah.
and I'd been in for 40 years, I couldn't. That told me that I was not really valued, and
Now,
that was one of the. It wasn't the reason.
Tally, this is what Keenan is talking about now. I believe, or let me say it my way. Now I can, now that we're online, I can have my own church online. I can preach and I can do whatever I need to do without being conference driven or to be worried about if I'm going to be moved to New Jersey or moved to Virginia or my household is going to be disrupted or whatever the case may be. Now you got these young heads that's coming out, and I'm saying that in a positive way. These young heads are coming out and saying to themselves, this is not the way I thought it was going to be. But I am called. Hold on, though. But I am called. That does not negate their call. It's just that they don't want to be under a conference who now they have to be able to say, okay, they prayed about it, but God didn't tell me that. You understand what I'm saying? And so when I see these young heads leaving out of pastoral ministry, still preaching, still in the pulpit, still writing books, still doing whatever they need to do, and yet saying, but I'm making a living over here for my children, and I'm doing what I need to do for my children. I kind of say to them, hey, good. I'm happy for you to be able to do that.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Novella.
Chime in. I usually mention certain things to Pat. Pat's one of my, my go-to buddies. And I didn't even tell him this a couple of days ago. A few weeks ago, somebody was kind of being rude to me online, if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the person came back, but in a private message, in a DM to me, to continue being rude to me.
Wow.
Now, I try my best to listen, answer people's questions or whatever. And the person said to me, well, Pastor, I don't know you like that, and I'm not one of your fans, so
Wow.
I shouldn't even be DMing you. And in my mind, I was like, so what are we doing? Anyway, so he continues to talk, and he's like, well, I see you're an entrepreneur, and you have multiple streams of income on your public profile. That's what you post. How does the conference feel about it? Now, listen, before I typed a word.
Oh, I thought she would take off her glasses.
Before I typed a word, I had to stop and be realistic with myself. What people think are multiple streams of income for Novella is not. It may earn me a coin here or there.
Right.
But if someone knew me for who I am, they would know that because I do interior auto detailing and own a little interior detailing company, it's not for Novella alone. My prayer to God was, please help me to teach young people how to do this so they could make a little money and they stop robbing and stop stealing and going to jail because they're robbing people. Please. So out here in Annapolis, in the HUD communities, I parked up in the HUD communities to teach detailing in the community where gunshots fire off in the daytime. I don't have to put that online for people to know. That's my business between me and God. Number two.
Go ahead.
I have this grief coaching thing. Okay, it might make me a little bit of coins. The majority of people I see cannot afford it or cannot think clearly to even find the Cash App to pay for it, my answer is I am here to help you. Forget about it. It doesn't matter. I didn't explain that to this person because they were there for an argument. They weren't there to understand Novella's heart. They were there to chastise me, to criticize me, and to say, there it is, another pastor doing anything but pastoring, when all of the things I've invested in are to help me pastor different. Because if we are only pastors who preach, you're not pastoring, you're a preacher.
Come on.
Lady Vella, I used to cry at night.
Yeah.
When somebody, I mean, we're all not the same. Everybody's different because of that. And I remember when we talked about that situation, what did I say? Just erase them, go with it. If it were 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh, write them back and see if they could be, forget that, man. Forget them altogether. Forget that. And when I say that, I'm not talking about throw your members to the side. You have a personality. You have a way to be able to live your own. Listen, some people don't believe that we do number 2. Okay, no,
I've been known to do number 3.
Well, see how it mixes in. But I can tell you this: I do think some of the old things need to come along. Let me explain what I mean. I check on my members, but you see, my members are Caribbean, so they all on WhatsApp. I said they all on WhatsApp. You understand what I'm saying? So I could check on them differently than the way that I don't have to go to their house.
Virtual check.
Right. I check on them. Hey, what's going on? This, that, and the other. Do you need me to come by right now or whatever? I mean, I check on them that way. Yeah. 20 years ago, you checked on them by calling them, leaving a message on their answering machine, knocking on their door, or whatever. They don't want that anymore. A pastor can still be a pastor and shepherd his flock with the new tools that's coming out nowadays.
Yeah. And to the sister who wrote in, Velma, I think it was,
yes,
sister there, I definitely hope that whoever her pastor is, can check in, because even if it's not the same like back in the day, which I think all of us value, that golden part of a pastor just checking in, being available, making their rounds, even if those rounds are by WhatsApp or text or, whatever the case may be. I totally feel the sister. And so may she know that our comments are not because we don't believe in it. We just know that it's a new day. Therefore, it might be done in multiple ways. And truthfully, being at the church, for hours at a time, it is a little different day, like what I wouldn't do that in Annapolis. I don't have a secretary in Annapolis. When I was in Hinesville, you can find my car parked up all the time because
all day, Novella, we knew where to find you.
Where to find you.
But here's the other side of it.
By myself.
A lot of bad pastors make a lot of us good pastors look bad. I mean, it's 180 churches or so. And how many pastors that are out there? There are some pastors that don't do it and they make us all look bad. There are some pastors who have 2 jobs and do well at both. You wouldn't even know that they're holding down two positions, right? There's some pastors that live 3 hours away from their church. You'll never know that they're missing from their community or not that they're missing. You'll never know because they're always at everything that's going on.
Schedule themselves and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're always there. They're always showing up. You know who was like that? Baxter. Baxter used to live in Delaware, but all the time, by the time you turned around, he was right there in Delaware. I mean, in Virginia. So I'm saying that I think to each his own. We have to learn how to retool though, because let me be honest with you, and I think you guys are great. I've been pastoring for 6 months now, and it's not the same. Now, is it stressing me? No, it's not stressing me. My congregation doesn't stress me, but I realize that I got to learn new things.
In closing, I want to. There's something that we haven't talked about.
We don't decide when we close, Tally.
No, I mean, I'm closing.
Okay.
I'm retired. I can close yesterday. But in closing, one of my final points is because I noticed someone said, I think it was Leroy Sutton, said the head elder is expected to be at every meeting, do visitation and all that. And we always talk about, people want the pastor to do this, this, and this, and this, and be available. The elders, they need to have the elder, and we have elders over. That is not the problem. There's a biblical model that we have failed miserably at.
My goodness, that's another.
That is this.
Here we go.
The when the first apostolic problem in the new Christian church was when the widows said, we're not getting our fair distribution, and there was a squabble about it. And the apostles, who were overseers, said, let us appoint people to address the needs of the individual members, and they were called deacons. Now, we have mistakenly believed that deaconing is being a janitor,
groundskeeper.
Yeah, you have the gift of holy mopping, but
Holy
deacons. The task of the deacon is to oversee and to interact with the individual member at the point of need.
That's right.
The task of the elder, the word episkopos, is to oversee the operations, while the deacons are to deal with members. And our churches do not do that.
That's
deacons
right.
mop and they sweep. And then when the members want some spiritual counsel, they go to an elder who is supposed to be doing something different, and it gets all skewed up. That's the last thing I'll say.
Tally, let me ask you this: would you come and be we'll pay you off the books to come pastor with me?
Oh, I absolutely will not.
But that brings up another thing I want before we close. The mentorship piece. Because Tally, I know you referenced there were a few gentlemen that as mentors to you. How has that changed, or how has that remained the same? Do you think the level of mentorship that happens from a pastor who's been in ministry for several years to someone who may be new to ministry has changed, or what does that look like?
Like I said, we lost Camp Pitch, where there was that intense association that we used to have.
No, not the same. Everybody, including teachers, used to be there, including teachers.
I mean, Camp Pitch was the college of practical ministry, and that's gone now. And you need to have something. Workers' meeting used to be close to it, but that's gone now. And Jimmy Gibson said he'll come back. He said he's had enough gumbo down there in Louisiana. So,
So I'll say from my perspective, when you first get in as an intern, there are some mandatory things that you have to attend, some, group things that you can learn and grow with. And I love it. But I feel like once you ordained, it falls off and you're out in the water by yourself. And so it's important to have a community around you. And so I think, your area meetings can serve as that.
That's right.
Depending on what they're talking about. But that could be that mentorship connection. But it all depends on what area you're in and who's in leadership, quite frankly. It varies.
But what Robert Patterson said.
Now, how does mentorship work in pastoral ministry? As a younger pastor, do you seek mentorship from an older pastor, or is the older, and when I say older, I mean more experienced pastor, supposed to look out for people that they feel they can, train, or guide, I should say, not train, but guide.
Producer, I was at the Columbia Church and went through some problems, right? As coming out in my first district. Bobby Palmer, Marcellus Robinson, Marcus Harris was there to settle the problem. Right after that, we had a workers meeting that was about mentorship, simply mentorship. And Marcus Harris and myself came together and found that we have similar counseling, similar this, that. And he became my mentor. How did
that process happen?
That process happened because at the mentorship at the workers meeting, there was like icebreakers, going around, and who was like this, who had this amount of kids, who was going to do this, and who's the. So you kind of like got to a place where you saw the people you could be around. Basically,
it evolves organically.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. So it's not necessarily you assign someone.
No, it wasn't
gravitate towards. Yeah,
right. It wasn't. It wasn't assigned, but you choose your mentor.
Yeah.
People don't choose you,
and vice versa.
Right. Yeah. So we became so close that he does help me in certain things. And there's some people who would say, how could that be your mentor? Or how could you be his mentor or mentee or whichever? It just grows that way. You just kind of build that way. And I have to say, without him, and remember, he was a youth director. You know what I mean? And I was a mentee to him before I went to youth ministries. So you can kind of see how that growth kind of came along. And just like what you're saying, Tally, when I went through like a mental issue because I left all of that, he was there with me. You see what I'm saying? There's no politics involved and no bitterness of this, that, and the other. So really, if we had better mentorship, or if we had a mentorship program or something, I think that ministry would look a whole lot different.
My first mentor, who saved my career, was Melvin Hayden. I mean, I knew Melvin since I was 18 or 19, and we stayed in touch. And can I be really transparent here? Sure. I was a young man at the seminary, and an older woman had some kind of attraction to me, and I was young, and I didn't understand what was happening.
Skinny.
You know? And I'm telling you, I did not know what to do, and I called Melvin Hayden, and he told me exactly how to handle it. Yeah. I would not have made it if he hadn't been there for me.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I've had a string of them. Yeah. Bill Hall was a mentor when I was really young, and then we became best of friends. And one of the things that when I left this last time, when I just retired, one of the things that hurt my feelings more than anything else, I was hanging out with some of the younger ministers. We were all at lunch, and one of the younger ministers said, "That's what we like about you, Tally. You're not like the rest of the older mentors. You treat us with respect and kindness." I said, "I'm a mentor? I thought we was just friends." I knew that it was time for me to go.
You know who was like that too? Peter Campbell.
Peter Campbell would, yeah.
Peter Campbell was like that too, and Brenda Billinger. Brenda Billinger just wasn't for the women in ministry.
Yeah,
we called her on B, because there are times when we got to a place where we were afraid to say we needed help, because we thought that if you asked for help, that the conference would look at it as weakness. So this is the reason why we kind of turn to people and ask these kind of questions. What's his name? Thompson, who went to Allegheny West. He was a great mentor.
Who was that?
I know
I don't know why his first name is escaping me.
Yeah, or he retired. He was at Allegheny West. Oh my goodness, Thompson. Yeah, you know him if you got his first name.
Okay.
But these were great. What you said?
I thought it starts with an R, but go ahead.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, no, not Aaron Thompson. I know, not Aaron Tompkins. That's Aaron Tompkins, but Thompson. Yeah. But the point is that I think our workers' meetings, our area meetings, and GP just said that.
Johnny Thompson?
No, no.
Okay, just asking.
Johnny Thompson was
Kirk.
I just asked
Kirk Thompson.
Kirk? Oh yeah,
Kirk Thompson. Johnny Thompson was who I picked up the wash this car and all that.
Oh, he hates you.
Every time y'all say that stuff, like I get quiet when you say that, because I'm like, you're not gonna exploit my life. I'm not. I am a human being. I'm a person. I'm a professional person. It almost makes me sick to know.
I wasn't going to ask you to wash my car, Novella. You could come on up here to Philly.
That's why she ain't come to West.
It makes me sick to kind of think, but to think. And this is not the first time I've heard something like this, that these are the weird things that you've had to do. And let me tell you, when I think of the word mentor, I think of how the person gave to me.
Right.
How they took.
Yeah.
So to hear that y'all were taken from, I'm like, that's nasty. That's not how it works. I remember, and my mentors are a mix of, clergy, non-clergy, Adventist, non-Adventist. And I remember, I don't know why she told me, but she recently died, Heather Dawn Small. I remember telling me, "Oh, come to my house tomorrow." I can't remember what it was for, but all I know is for the next 18 years, I was coming to her house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone became family, mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, whatever the case.
Was she a pastor?
Not he was the women's ministry leader of the GC for like almost 18, 19 years or something like that.
But when she spoke to you, she was just Heather Dawn, or to me, Moms. You know, like you didn't get this big figure, and it's like you knew that she did this thing, but you didn't know it at the same time because she just treated you like a daughter, like a person. Brenda Billinger, Pat, you already mentioned it. Y'all know. Whether it's Mama B, whether it's Aunt Brenda.
You were at her house.
You
were at her house.
You know, if she's traveling, she'll tell you, come on over and do some grocery shopping. Because why should it spoil in my fridge when it can go in yours? Mentor.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then the prayers and the time of prayer and study and discussion and thought and loving that they give. And then there's a lady out here in Annapolis. I don't even know that I haven't even told her that she's a mentor of mine.
Right.
It so naturally happened. Dr. Karen Johnson. You know, she's the pastor at First Christian, First Aid Church. But her ministry, her path, her prayer life, her focus, the devotion to God that she has and that all of these women have, they're not taking away. They're giving. And so y'all describe this stuff. I'm like,
do you know you can have younger mentors?
Absolutely.
You know, your mentor, you can have younger mentors. I see some of these guys in ministry.
Absolutely.
When I see guys like Gomez.
Oh yeah. Amen.
I mean, these guys are ridiculous. And I look, you know what? Let me stay in our conference. I watch Corey all the time. Right. When you talk about retooling, you don't have to take everything from them, but take what you need from each one of them. When I see GP, how short his messages are, but it's like you don't have to sit up there for 45 minutes and a whole hour to get something, to push something through. So I have younger mentors, and I don't have to tell them that they're my mentors. I just watch those type of things that they do. But I want to
talk about you because, I mean, yes, you're not younger than me, but I want to say, you know, I've known Pat for a long time, like 20 years. Our families have been friends, and we've just known each other in the capacity like that. But then coming into pastoral ministry, you know, seeing Pat from, you know, his church there in Baltimore, then going to the conference. But it's particularly this season of life where Pat and I are talking often. Yes. And this season of life, I don't know that, you know, Pat would really realize how his push for the mental and emotional balance and wellness, not just as a pastor, but as a man, as a husband, as a person, has really been inspiring to me. And I bet you if we ask people, they would say you're their mentor for that. And so I wanted to make sure you knew that, because this part of your journey is not.
What's your Cash App?
Yeah.
I just want Pat, being a mentor means you're getting old. I just want to let you know that. You know?
That's what Novella's trying to say. She be texting me like, yo, are you okay? Did you wake up yet? I mean, are you right? Are you taking them pills? You good? No, Novella, and I really I appreciate that. I watch what's going on at your church. I watch what's going on. Listen, the key to the whole thing is that we need to be together. There's no competition. Get out of the competition of ministry and learn to celebrate each other. And I think that's one of the things that we miss along the way, to be able to
celebrate and collaborate.
Celebrate and collaborate. And I think
reach out. So like
that GP can turn a phrase, can
yeah, I wrote it down. We got it.
When the younger, there was a younger, like several younger individuals came out of the seminary, like I guess two years now, when they came out, I was so blessed to be able to meet them. And I was like, hey, listen, this is my name and whatever. If you need anything, just call. Took one of them out to lunch. Hey, sit down, man. Come on. We just talked to let them know, open door, if ever. I know you have a senior, but if ever you need someone else to chat with or whatever, you know, I'm here, and give certain gems, you know, as well. And then they call me Bam. And I was like, what you say?
Yeah. I'm going to give one more. I'm going to throw this back to the producer. Let me just tell you this. Those of us in the metro area, Trev, Alex, all of us used to get together. And when a new person came in, we used to tell them about their curtain allowance, how much mileage they used to get. We used to take them out. So anytime somebody new came, we say it was always at Olive Garden, and we'll all go to Olive Garden and tell them how to beat the system, right? We used to do that, right? But the one thing that we had also was that we used to go to Brinklow. Trevor used to be at Brinklow. Anyway, whatever the case is, we used to have all-night prayer meetings.
Amen. Yes.
and we used to go to each other's church, right, and pray over the seats.
Mm.
We used to just pray.
Really?
Yes, we used to be like, okay, sister so and so sits here, and so sits here, and so sits here, and we'll start calling them out by name. If I tell you right now, that is what I miss in ministry. We don't have that anymore. And if you had that, look, one of my friends is Keith, and Keith is all the way in Ohio. And before Ohio, he was all the way in Houston, Texas. So it's we don't have that togetherness that says keep pushing, move on. What is that? Did you say, GP? Collaborate and
celebrate and
collaborate.
Yeah. That's facts.
You don't have that relationship. You're saying that's not there no more. Those relationships.
Well, I tell you this, now that Trev moved back, you know what I'm saying? Because we're in a proximity, now we get to call each other. You know, now we get to say, hey, what you doing? What's going on? What's this, that? Because you kind of need somebody close on your hip.
Yeah.
Marcus Harris is on the hip. He's right here at Breath of Life. Even though you can make the phone calls, it's better when everyone's together. It's better when you're together.
Amen.
And the reason I brought that up, and I know there's so much more that we have on this topic and understanding more about pastoral ministry. And I liked what someone said earlier about it. It's good for them to hear from the other side. I mean, what a lot of you have shared, your members were clueless. They had no idea of a lot of the things that you all shared. So thank you guys for all being very transparent. But the reason I asked about the mentorship,
I heard you were going into pastoral ministry.
I hear that.
Oh,
I heard you were going to be ordained this year and you were going to go into pastoral ministry.
That's what I heard.
That is not true.
You stuttering? You caught the stutter? Anybody caught the stutter?
That is not true.
All I know is that she is disputing the men of God. There are she-bears in the woods waiting for people like that. But go ahead.
Thank you. There you go. Pastors are communicators. Yeah. But I was going to say, you know, that statistic that shows that pastors are among those professions that are the loneliest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was asking about the mentorship, because, you know, it seems like as pastors, you all need some type of community of people who understand exactly what it is. Well, maybe not exactly, but have an idea of what it is that you're dealing with. And
the mentorship doesn't do that. The friendship does that.
Friendship,
yeah, that's what I, okay.
The friendship does that.
Yeah. And we didn't have time to talk about the hazards in ministry, how it affects your family, the weight. There's so many other factors that we oftentimes don't complain about publicly on social media. But I'll say this, pray for your pastor.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to.
That's right.
And we will talk about that. I think there's enough on that side that we didn't get to in terms of the impact of pastoral ministry on spouses specifically and children specifically, and then families collectively. I think that's a big piece that we definitely need to
Amen.
talk about. But thank you guys for sharing this evening.
I just want to thank 3 of my former members, Moray, Erica, and Candace, who have been very kind on this one. They were all great members.
And Orville putting up this. Orville and I are God brothers. True God brothers. So he's talking about our clothes passed down to each other as it goes down. Yeah.
I'm getting a message from heaven. God is saying, don't put him in that.
It's true.
Okay.
Amen.
All right, guys. Well, as we said, let's continue to pray for your pastor, everyone. And pastors, pray for each other.
Yeah.
You know, this is ministry is not easy. And we appreciate all of you for what you do. And thank you for being here tonight and sharing. All right, guys, we hope that everyone has a great week, and we hope to see you back here next Sunday, same time, same place. Tally? Because if it's Sunday,
that means that your pastor is probably getting a second job and going to work on Monday.
Novella, you understand now what happened last week with the women's thing? All right. Novella, fix it for her.
I know. Just pray.
You know what to say, Novella?
No.
If it's Sunday, all you have to say it's the UpSet podcast, but it can never be that simple, right? It always has to be something else. But yeah, if it's
look, it's Reverend Cheryl.
Yeah, I see her.
Reverend Wellington.
Because if it's Sunday, it's the UpSet podcast.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll do that next week, guys. We'll see. All right, thanks for watching. See you next week.
No, Rodney, I'm not that old. Okay.
Peace.
All right, guys.
Bye.